Welcome to the next entry of the Wind Speaks audio blog. Today I wanted to talk about embracing silence. And silence is something that can be extremely powerful. It reminds me of a book I read years ago, probably 20 years ago, and that book was called Fierce Conversations. And that book is what pushed me down the path of becoming a coach. And the book itself is a book about communication and different ways of improving communication. And there was these different principles that lead to this concept of a fierce conversation. And one of the principles was, let silence do the heavy lifting. Let silence do the heavy lifting. And I always loved that. I think when I first heard that principle, I thought to myself, wow, what a powerful way to shift communication at the appropriate times and in the appropriate way. And it reminded me of how uncomfortable I've been or had been over the years with silence, trying to fill that space, filling the silence with noise. And that shows up in communication. And when we take that a little bit farther, I think that in general, we live in a world that is full of noise. And some of this noise is, I think, designed to keep us distracted. But ultimately, some of this noise is self-created in the sense of not being able to be with what is here with us. And so silence is about being able to be with what is here in the present moment. And silence, I think, it's on some level, it's our birthright. If you've ever been in a noisy situation and all of a sudden the noise stops, it's like there's this part of you that's like, because it's only then in that moment you realize how much distraction and how much noise was playing out. And embracing silence is important on so many levels. One, it's important in this realm of communication because it gives someone else the opportunity to formulate their thoughts, be with what it is that you said, and take some time to process. On a personal level, you might ask yourself, how much noise am I subjecting myself to on a daily basis? What is it that's keeping me from connecting with that inner landscape? I know that for myself, as I've been deepening my connection to my guides recently, one of the places that it's easiest for me to do that is when I'm walking in nature. It's the time when I've left all those outside distractions, and it takes me a while. Like when I get into nature, it takes me a while to slow down and quiet the noise. And the noise in that case is the constant thinking, the idea creation, all of that. And the more I slow down, the more the silence starts to be accessible. And even then, there's not true silence because there's lots of animal noises and it can be a windy day, whatever that might be. But the noise that we're subjected to on a daily basis in the woods, there's some distance from that. And in that silence, it's where creativity gets to emerge. It's where those parts of ourselves that don't get enough airtime start to surface and have an opportunity to speak to us. And I think that that's one of the really important things to consider, is that when we are struggling or feeling out of alignment or having a hard time with something, usually underneath that there's some sort of creative life force energy that's wanting to be expressed, that hasn't been able to be expressed. And that force, if you will, the force of that part of you that's trying to express itself, and then there's usually this other part that tries to suppress that. That's what creates a lot of this noise. A lot of the dialogue that we have internally that is keeping us from going in another direction. And I think I've referred to this in other times of we tend to focus externally rather than internally. It's harder to orient ourselves to our internal system because we've been trained on so many levels to orient outside of ourselves. In human design, we call that inner authority versus outer authority. And it's something that we've all been subject to because we're usually trying to get something from outside of us, whether it's love, whether it's support, whether it's conversation. But silence allows us to anchor to something else, that inner world. And it's complicated because our inner world contains all the stories and experiences that have been challenging and have been difficult to be with. And ultimately, that's part of what the noise does. The noise is a way of numbing that discomfort. The noise is a way of diminishing the feelings that we can't find the space to be with or the strength to be with, or we've just spent so long avoiding it that we just can't go there. And so the noise is a form of soothing that and making it better. But silence is a way of stepping out of that pattern, out of that way of being, and being with that internal energy that is calling us, really. And when we can start to quiet the noise, that's when awareness can speak. That's when our inner guides can give us messages and we can actually hear them. And from that place, there's the opportunity to create new outcomes, to create new pathways. And awareness can lead to so much change. Awareness can lead to possibilities that we didn't know we were there. And it's almost impossible to create those kind of outcomes when there's so much noise. And so I invite you to connect with this in whatever way feels right for you. Where are there opportunities to bring some quiet? Even if it's just turning everything off for 5 minutes. The first thing you might become aware of in that 5 minutes is just how noisy your mind is. Just how distracted you might be thinking about the groceries that you need to buy in an hour. Thinking about the things you need to do tomorrow. And yet, those things will wait. Those things will wait. And from the silence, it's like a way of recharging your batteries. From the silence, there's space for others to contribute things that we didn't see, perspectives we didn't see. So I think I'm going to leave this here for now. I hope that this message is supportive in some way, and I look forward to sharing another entry with you next time. Bye for now.